The Giants continue their hiring spree as they bring in a new director of performance. Will he help their exit velos and their speed on the base paths? It's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Stiles, and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area, but I live in Sacramento now. I host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are breaking down the new director of performance for the Giants, whether they should go after Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, both or neither, and last but not least, a player profile on their newest pitcher, Logan Martin. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So, as we've talked about before, on this show, there are going to be certain hires that come through, and they're going to be based on certain guys within the organization, right? Could be a Buster Posey guy, could be somebody else, and obviously it could be a Tony Vitello guy. So this guy is coming on over from Tennessee. His name is Quentin Eberhardt. All right. He was with Tony Vitello. He left for a stint with the Cubs and then came back to Knoxville. And here is the report. This is from Knox News. Happy Monday to everyone, by the way. This is from Knox News. Quentin Eberhardt is leaving Tennessee baseball to be the director of performance with the San Francisco Giants. Sources with direct knowledge of the situation told Knox News. Eberhardt will oversee Major League strength and conditioning, sports science, nutrition, and mental health. All right. So he came over to San Francisco. I don't know if he's here yet, but he's coming over to San Francisco from Knoxville. Like I said, he had that tenure with the Cubs, but besides that, he was at Tennessee 2 separate times. This is from the Tennessee baseball website, and I felt like it was a good thing to bring up for those who might not be aware, because it made me very, very excited for what he's done with them and what he might be able to do with, honestly, maybe more of our younger guys, but even some of our vets as well. Tennessee has put up record-setting power numbers over the past 2 seasons, thanks in large part to Eberhardt's efforts. The Vols once again displayed impressive power in 2025, finishing as one of the nation's leaders in home runs for the 5th straight year. UT hit 131 long balls, which ranks 2nd in the country and marked the 4th consecutive season it has hit 100 or more homers. Tennessee had 8 players hit double-digit dingers, led by Andrew Fisher, who hit 25. On the pitching side of things, UT's top 3 single-season strikeout totals in program history have come under Eberhardt's watch, with 738 in 2023, 729 in 2025, and 700 in 2024. During its record-setting 2024 season, Tennessee reached the mountaintop by winning the first national championship in program history. The Big Orange led the nation with a program record 184 home runs, which ranks 2nd in D1 history, just 4 shy of the NCAA record of 188 homers. Throughout Eberhardt's first stint with the program, UT saw drastic increases in its power numbers each season. This is what I think everybody is pretty excited and juiced up about. The Vols had 141 extra base hits and 42 home runs during his first season in 2018, after finishing with 123 base hits and just 33 homers in the year prior. Tennessee made an even bigger leap in 2019 with 173 extra base hits and 53 long balls. The Vols were on pace to shatter those numbers in 2020 before that season was cut short in just 17 games. They already had 77 extra base hits and 31 homers. Tennessee made another huge leap in 2021, blasting 98 homers, racking up 244 extra base hits en route to making its first trip to Omaha since 2005. It wasn't just the bats that displayed major improvements under Eberhardt, as UT's pitchers also increased their strikeout totals during each of his 4 seasons. After finishing with only 198 strikeouts in 2017, Tennessee's pitching staff nearly doubled that in 2018 with 383 punchouts. In 2019, the Vols finished the year ranked 33rd in the country with 551 strikeouts, the second most in a single season in program history. Through 17 games in 2020, the pitchers had already racked up 171 strikeouts and were averaging 10.1 Ks per 9 innings. The 2021 team went on to set a new program record with 617 punchouts while averaging 9 strikeouts per game. Here's one for all of you stolen base fans out here to close it out. The Big Orange increased their speed during Eberhardt's watch as well, ranking among the SEC and national leaders in stolen bases multiple times. In 2019, UT led all Power 5 programs with 108 stolen bases. It's most in a single season since 2005. All right, so a lot of people have been talking about stolen bases. A lot of people talking about the power. Now, we understand that Oracle is not really a power spot, but they're just getting stronger in general. They're getting faster. They're throwing the ball harder. They're hitting the ball farther, right? So this dude, like I said, he has been around, and they wanted him in Major League spaces. He's been with a couple of different teams. We talked about his stint with the Cubs. He played in college as well. He played at Norfolk State, where my mom went to school also. Just a little, I was reading that, and I thought, oh, there you go. Shout out the Spartans. So this guy knows what he's talking about. And this guy, whatever it is, I was reading something about after they lost to Arkansas a year or two ago, and how he had them running up and down the field and just getting their conditioning and their stamina, everything right. Now, I don't know how that necessarily translates to Major League Baseball, because with 162 games, you're not going to be doing that. But the off-season programs, to me, is where this stuff is going to get implemented and going to change a lot. And I would say, as I mentioned at the top of the segment, I think it will be cool for the vets, right, to maybe lock into some stuff. But let's take a Grant McCray, who has shown a little bit of pop. Maybe he can tap into something else. Wade Meckler, who's already good at the bat to ball skills, but he doesn't really hit the long ball. Just kind of unlocking maybe another level that these guys haven't had. And then stolen bases. This is exactly what we're talking about, what I've been talking about with a guy like Elliot Ramos, who has decent speed, but doesn't necessarily steal bags. Maybe this can take all these guys to the next step. And obviously, to close it out, all the young guys, right? Once you have this system implemented, all of these 18-year-olds, all of these international prospects that you're adding, you're getting them at such a young age, relatively speaking. You can mold them, and we can see a lot of improvements there. So this could really unlock some things for the Giants, and good on Tony Vitello for being able to pluck him away from Tennessee. I was reading, like I said, I was reading the Knox News, so some of the comments, not too excited about it, but this is what happens when you have Tony Vitello and somebody who has made these connections. Yeah, do not forget the name, okay? This is a guy, Quentin Eberhardt, who could really change things for the Giants, so we'll see what happens there. On the other side, let's talk about somebody who's already worked with Tony Vitello, Max Scherzer. He's a free agent. Justin Verlander is available as well. Should the Giants bring both of them in, either of them in, or neither of them in? Let's talk Scherzer and Verlander on the other side. More Locked On Giants coming up. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I have to tell y'all about my new favorite jeans, My doers, seriously, they've changed my life. Right now, I'm wearing the Performance Denim Slim Straight, and I cannot get over how comfortable these jeans are. I've been reaching for my doers for everything, running errands, grabbing dinner with friends, and even heading to the ballpark because they look great and feel even better. Here's the thing. Doer jeans have 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, so you can actually move in them. They're also antibacterial, which means they stay fresh longer, wear more, wash less. And they're made with Cool Max technology that helps regulate body temperature and wick moisture, so you stay cool and comfortable as the day changes. Honestly, they feel as stretchy as my favorite joggers, but look like I'm dressed to go out on the town. Doer is all about combining classic jeanswear style with athletic level comfort and performance. It's the best of both worlds. They actually pioneered the original performance denim, blending technical innovation with everyday clothing that looks sharp and feels incredible. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without sacrificing style. Once you try them, they'll be your go-to pair. Trust me. And if you're in San Francisco, check out Doer's store at 567 Hayes Street. Pick up a pair for yourself or grab one as an amazing holiday gift. Mention my promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or shop online at shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for that same 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnSF. Your new favorite jeans are waiting. So let's talk about the vets. Okay, Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander, or neither of them. Let's start here with what Tony Vitello had to say at the GM meetings. Quote, "I'd be all for it, but he loves where he's at, and he has good options," Vitello said. "Money makes the world go round, but I would never want to use our personal relationship to take advantage of a personal situation or gain an edge." He did go on to say that Scherzer was one of the people that he turned to for advice when he was considering the Giants job after the hire was announced. Scherzer sang Vitello's praises to MLB.com as his Toronto Blue Jays were preparing for the World Series. And here's his quote. This is from Around the Foghorn, just this kind of breakdown. "I'm just so happy for him," Scherzer said. "Happy he got the opportunity to be able to get to the big leagues. I've been friends with him my whole time ever since Mizzou. I've known the fire in him. I know the passion that he has. I've always believed in him." So I have just a comparison, right? Because both of these guys, when you're talking about Scherzer and Verlander, I think the bottom line is you can't have both of them. I don't think you can have both of them on the squad. There is a path, and I will explain what that path is, but I'll change it. You can't have both of them in your rotation. I don't think you can do that. Here's the comparison, and it's not really fair to Scherzer because he had some injuries, but Verlander's 42. He was 4-11 with a 3.85 ERA in 29 games, 152 innings with 137 strikeouts. Max Scherzer, 41 years old. He was 5-5 with a 5.19 ERA, 17 games with 85 innings, 82 strikeouts. Max Scherzer had that thumb injury, but did show what he could do in Game 7 of the World Series after pitching 4 innings and only giving up 1 run. So the only thing I can think is this is a situation where you would stash him. And I think that Scherzer would be way more open to this than Verlander. We know Verlander is chasing those wins. Scherzer, to me, would just be around for good vibes. Could you use him as a spot starter as opposed to, for example, a Kai-Wei Tang? Now, this is no disrespect to Kai-Wei Tang, but the hope is that you don't have to spot start him either, but I just don't see a world where you have both of them. And the only reason I brought up Kai-Wei Tang is because I don't personally think that he is going to be a starter in this league anyway. So could you use Scherzer in that way? He talked about the ability to still hit mid-90s and when he did feel right, when his thumb was feeling better, and he missed, I think, 3 months of the season, but he did say when he felt right, and we saw it in the World Series, he does feel like he has a level of gas left in the tank. Both these guys want to get to contenders, so I guess it depends on what you feel about the Giants, whether you think that they're contenders or not. I mean, they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot, and we know that in baseball, all you got to do is get in. So I guess to a certain degree, yeah, they're contenders. Here's the difference, though. Would you have called the Reds a contender? The Reds got into the playoffs. I don't think the Reds were contenders. They played in the playoffs, which is more than the Giants did. Now the Giants are leveling up, and you could say that they underachieved, right? The Giants underachieved, the Mets underachieved, also missing the playoffs. So you could be a contender and underachieve. I don't see if Verlander comes back. I think that he did more last season, but I also think he's going to expect more. He's going to want to be a starter in that rotation every week, and or every time his spot comes around. That's what I think Verlander wants to do. I do think Verlander showed more, but Verlander was also healthier. Max Scherzer, I think, would be more chill. You would bring him on. He would show up when you need him to, maybe even relief in some spots. So it's tough. I think that Verlander is the better player at this point in time, but I think he's going to come with more of an expectation to, hey, I'm one of the guys. I went 4-11. I should have done much better than that. Some of that's on me. Some of that's on the team. So yeah, I should obviously be in this rotation without a doubt, right? Every time that spot comes up. So that's probably how Justin Verlander feels. I don't necessarily know that. Well, I don't necessarily know that that's how Verlander feels, but that's how it has come off in the past. And that's kind of what I heard. I mean, this is why he's still doing it at this point. So bullpen conversations and just more flexibility. I just think that Scherzer would give you that, even if he has a little bit less in the tank. And you could say, I don't know, maybe due to the injury, he saved some bullets, if you will, right? Because he wasn't pitching, he was injured, and Verlander was out there and he threw way more innings. Maybe it's reverse psychology and you feel like we're actually going to go with Scherzer because he didn't throw as much last season, and Justin Verlander was everywhere. So you can look at it that way too. I would, in a perfect world, to be completely honest with you, I would not go with either of them. I think that we're to the point. I mean, if Scherzer wants to jump on, and if those remember the Miami Heat with Udonis Haslem, who didn't play at all, I think Scherzer would at least pitch sometimes. But if you wanted to bring on Scherzer for a kind of mentor role, and when you need somebody, he can pop in. I don't even know if their bodies are able to do that because they're just so used to being in a process and used to being in a rotation and in a schedule and having things kind of laid out for them. But if he would be willing to do that, I would take him. Yeah, deep down, I just would rather not have either of them. And that's no disrespect to them. They're both Hall of Famers. I would just rather go a little bit younger. But if you're making me, this is a tough one. If you're looking at it from a starter standpoint, hey, we need that fifth starter, I would go Verlander. Just based on, I just saw more of him. If you're looking at it as we kind of just need an arm, a spot starter, somebody that may even be willing to come out of the bullpen, then I would go Scherzer, because I think Scherzer would be more open to that than Justin Verlander. But we'll see. I have a weird feeling it will be Scherzer, but I don't think that he will be used as much as Justin Verlander was just used this past season. At least I hope not. One more segment with you. It's time for a player profile on Logan Martin. This is the pitcher that the Giants took a chance on as they moved on from Mason Black. One more segment with you. Locked on Giants. Don't move. NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and pricing jumping up at checkout, it's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. And I love zone deals. You pick the section and Game Time picks the seats. You save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Game Time today. One more segment with you on a dreary Monday, and we are talking about Logan Martin, a player profile on the right-handed pitcher that came over in the Mason Black trade from the Royals, as Mason Black is now headed to Kansas City. 24 years old, drafted in the 12th round in 2023 by the Royals out of University of Kentucky. So chances are he may have some familiarity with Tony Vitello. In his draft year, after he got drafted, he did get a cup of coffee, but these last 2 seasons have really been where he started to make a name for himself. The truth be told, this kind of has more to do with Mason Black. He was designated for assignment, and the Royals were clearly interested. Probably thought he wouldn't clear waivers, so they wanted to make a move to go get him. So basically, it sounds like a situation where it's the Royals saying, hey, give us Mason Black and we'll give you something that we think has a little bit of upside, but obviously not too much, since clearly you didn't think too highly of Mason Black at this moment since you designated him for assignment. So the Royals landed on Martin, who does have some upside, but when you're looking at your prospect list, he's the type of guy that you're going to be willing to part with for a dude in Mason Black, who was a 3rd-round pick and already made it to the big leagues. As far as the Giants are concerned, this is what they're getting with Martin. This is from my guy, Jeff Young. The righty pitcher throws a slider with a couple different looks and a changeup. One of his sliders sits in the mid to high 80s. Admittedly, this might be more of a cutter. He also throws a low 80s slider with more sweeping action. The changeup has some promise, but he does not throw it as often. So he was never on the Royals top 30 prospect list, but he did make a solid amount of progress in a short period of time, which is always the hope with these college guys. Like I said, 24 years old. So he came in, around 22, 23. And because he made so much progress, he was selected to be a part of the Arizona Fall League, which is where a lot of top prospects do get to show off their stuff. So I think the path for him and the hope for Logan Martin is that at some point he gets called up to Double-A in 2026, and then in 2027, which would make him 25, 26 years old, he'd be out here in Sacramento with me, and then kind of a late 30s guy, which happens pretty often with college guys. 28, 29 years old, he could be in San Francisco doing this thing at Oracle Park. So that's obviously the hope with all these guys. We don't know if that's going to be the case. But yeah, I mean, he throws mid-90s. He clearly has a lot of confidence in what he's throwing. He clearly has a lot of experience as a college guy, SEC experience. The Giants just love the SEC right now, by the way. Obviously, Tony Vitello, but the Tennessee guys that they have, and now grabbing Logan Martin, they like the SEC because the SEC is a very, very high level of baseball, and a lot of people would compare it to rookie ball and things like that, just based on the amount of talent that's out there and how refined a lot of that talent is. So it's kind of turning into a breeding ground, if you will, for a lot of these teams to go out and get guys that they think are going to be ready for the big leagues, and they think that at least will be able to understand what is understood at the big league level, and it won't be as shell-shocked when they get there, right? A lot of these guys, and you never know. I'm a mid-major guy, and there's some guys from the Atlantic 10, shout out the Atlantic 10, that make it to the big leagues too. But all in all, when you're seeing 98, 99, the fastest I've ever seen is 96, right? But when you're seeing 98, 99, when you're seeing guys that already were drafted but turn it down to get drafted higher, that's just another level. So there is a reason that the Giants and a lot of these teams are really interested in the SEC, and they're trying to just add as much talent as possible. Logan Martin, to me, he's just a classic case of what the Giants have had, which isn't a bad thing, but just a guy that understands who he is, has to work on his location just like everyone else, has to and by the way, he pitched they won the Arizona Fall League. So they won the Arizona Fall League, his team did, and he pitched in that game. I believe he was the last pitcher to pop up, but he had 2 strikeouts in the championship game, right? So there's always a level of upside. Again, you get him around the director of performance, and you never know what could happen. I think the Giants saw enough in him, but understood it was kind of a low risk, low reward move when you had already DFA'd Mason Black, and unfortunately it didn't work out with Mason Black. But those are the kinds of moves, and they haven't made a lot of trades, but they're starting to get into the fringes here, which I think is something that Dave spoke about as well. They want internal guys to show up and to do their thing. But as they're building up the farm system, if there's a guy that they think has a little bit of promise and they think something can be found there, kind of a hidden gem type of deal, they're going to take their chances and they're going to take their swings, no pun intended. So we'll see what happens with Logan Martin. Hopefully he makes his way out to Sacramento sooner rather than later. But if not, happy trails to Mason Black. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. We will be back tomorrow, continuing to break down everything going on in this Giants off season. Be sure to follow me on social media at @the_Styles Files, Styles with an I, and on our official Locked On Giants account as well on X and on TikTok. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.